So starting on page 14 of the robot game rules, we get into what I would consider the meat of the surrounding rules, not the game specific rules. So there's a few kind of reminders here at the beginning, and these are related to some of the things I may have mentioned before. The robot game wording means precisely and only what it says. That goes back to pay attention to what the rule says and what the rule does not say. If a detail is not mentioned, it does not matter. One of the things in First Lego League, and in really a lot of First you'll see, is if the referee has an unclear or a hard to call situation, the benefit of the doubt goes in favor of the students. So the youth will get the benefit of the doubt. So if the referee is, struggling with a decision, it's too close to call, the students will get the benefit of the doubt. If any rules, missions, or field setup need adjustment, a challenge update will be issued. So as you go through the season, if you find you're having difficulty with something that you think is not a problem you're having, but probably something more related to just how the missions are structured, chances are other teams may be having that issue as well. And if that is the case, then a challenge update may be issued. If you're running into problems like that, feel free to reach out to your partner, your local support, or the First Lego League support. Their contact information is available on the First website. But keep in mind that a challenge update will supersede any previous material. So you should ideally be checking for challenge updates. I would recommend weekly at the minimum. As always at an event, the head referee makes the final decision. Text has authority over pictures, and videos and emails have no authority. So for those reasons, we say the robot game rules and the challenge updates are the two most important things you can reference. We talked about grace professionalism at the robot table in the previous videos, but you can go through this section and read more about it. And finally, here are some terms. And we want to make sure we start here because the terms are going to be super important. I'm going to start with some of the easier ones and work our way to some of the harder ones. The technicians. These are the youth members of your team who are at the table running the robot. A match. A match are the 2.5 minute period when the robot tries to complete as many missions as possible. A mission is one or more tasks that can be completed for points. Order does not matter. The field are the border walls and everything inside them. The mat, the mission models, and the home areas are all part of the field. Now getting into some of the trickier ones to define, or maybe some of the more complex topics. Robot is the controller brick and any equipment combined with it and intended not to separate from it unless by hand. So anything that you have put together is your robot. Let's see what else we have. So an interruption. So if the robot is doing something and the technicians interact the robot or anything touching it after launch. So the interruption is just anytime you touch the robot after it's been launched. If it has not been launched, it's not an interruption. So what is a launch? A launch is when technicians activate the robot from completely within a launch area to cause it to move autonomously. And finally, equipment is actually an easy term, but it gets complex. It's everything the team brings to the match. So if it came with you into the building, up to the table, it's equipment. A couple more things I do want to point out. We're going to scroll up a little bit further in the document to this picture. This is a great picture. When you have your field set up, so this whole picture, I'm going to draw around it. This whole area in red, went too far, is the field. That includes the table walls, the home areas, the mat, everything. So that's the field. The table is the black part, right? Then you've got these yellow outlined areas. We're going to just hatch those in a little bit. Okay, so you got these two bars and these two quarter circles. Those two rectangles and those two quarter circles make up what is called home. So anytime you hear the word home, we're talking about the two rectangles and the two quarter circles. So that's one thing to remember. The next idea is this idea of a launch area. So the quarter circles themselves, this one here in red, as well as this one here in blue. These are referred to as launch areas. So the quarter circles are part of home and they are launch areas. The empty space black rectangles are just home. The rest of this rectangle here, this is just the playing field mat. So all of that is the mat. It's not home. It's not the launch area. It's just part of the mat. Now notice the launch areas in red and blue, those are part of the mat. And they are part of home, and they are the launch area. It's very important when you read through, and we'll go through the rules as well, going through all the rules, it's important that you can define what is home and what is not home, as well as what is a launch area and what is not a launch area. There are some times when the rules will refer to home. There are some times when they will refer to a launch area. And knowing what is important, and making sure that your youth members on your team know what is going to be very important, because if you are not careful, there are some rules that if you break them will incur a penalty. There are some rules that if you break them that will prevent you from even launching your robot. So it's very important that you and your students know what is home and what is a launch area. So that is going to be kind of our brief overview and our glossary. So it's one of the things you'll notice, there's not a lot of terms really. It's just these, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, as well as what is home and what is a launch area. So in my experience, the terms that come up most often are going to be equipment, home, and launch area. All the terms are important, don't get me wrong, but these three are the ones that if you have a firm grasp on what is and is not these terms, you'll have a much better time. So in the next video, we're going to start looking more at the actual rule definitions.